What's up, guys? It's Doodoo Poker here, back for another hand history review. Today we have 10 of hearts, 10 of spades in the big blind. Button raises up around 2.6x big blinds, and we decide to 3-bet a little over 13 big blinds in the big blind, and button calls. Flop comes Jack of hearts, 8 of hearts, 4 of hearts. Okay, so the first thing we need to know right now, off the bat, we have to know, is our opponent a fish or a reg? Okay? If our opponent is a reg, we play GTO strategies on the flop, okay? That means this hand would be mixed for small. If he's a fish, we range for small. So how do we figure this out, okay? So let's look at his VPIP PFR. Let's look at our definition of a fish. This is our definition for a fish, okay? A VPIP PFR gap of greater than 9%. What's the gap here? Well, 23 minus 9 is 14% over 43 opportunities. Okay, let's go to the HUD calculator. And we put in 14%, 43 opportunities, less than or equal to 9, 9.5%. That means there's a 90.5% chance of this player being a fish. Okay, now you're not going to know this in game, but once you do this enough, you can start making educated guesses, okay? So we have a very likely fish here. So we're going to use our fish strategy on the flop, okay? So we raise small, bet small, and we get raised. Now, we have to know this. Do fish over-raise, under-raise, or GTO raise? What do you guys think? Well, we can look at the data and figure this out. We see from the data that fish are raising 19% versus a 30% C-bet, and GTO is 7 to 12%. So we know they over-raise as the 3-bet pot in position pre-flop caller, okay? Let's go to the turn. We also know they over-barrel the turn after raising flop, 70%, and GTO is 60 to 68%. So keep those two things in mind. So once we get raised, we have to call, right? Okay. So now on the turn, when he goes small, we have a bluff catcher. But we know they're too wide. Let's go here. They only fold to a 3-bet when on the button, 46%. And GTO is 48 to 58%. So we know they're too wide pre-flop. Okay, that's number one. We also know they over-raise flop. That's number 2. We also know they over-barrel turn after over-raising flop. That's 3 data points, okay? So we always call turn. Now, river, we have to look at the river data. Let's look at the raise, bet, river data, okay? So we can see here that every sizing is over-bluffed. Okay, so bet 100 should be 33 weak if it's GTO. It's 49. This should be 30 weak. It's 48. Bet 50 should be 25. It's 43. So every sizing is over bluffed. Okay, that's very important. So when we decide, let's see the actual hand. Once we calculate all this, you don't have to know this specifically in game, but you should just once you start playing your fish strategy more, you'll start developing an intuition for it. So let's see what happened in game, okay? So in game, our opponent raised, we 3-bet. Okay, so we decided to C-bet small, which is our fish strategy. We know they over-raise, so we call. We picked up the flush on the turn with the straight flush outs. He bet small, always call. Now the river is the main decision, right? So we know from our data it's over-bluffed. So, we always call here, right? Because fish over bluff. And they also bet merged. So we call down with our bluff catcher. Now, if this was a reg, let's look at reg data. I'll show you the reg data as well. If this was a reg, this would be a very bad call. Because, well, this is bet 70's GTO, so it's close. But we know on monotone boards that reg's under bluff. So if this was a reg, we have to fold. So we fold versus a reg, but we know fish over bluff in the raise bet line, and we call. All right, guys. Hope you learned something from that, and I will see you guys in the next video.